Hi, this is Erma Grego from Senior Perspective. Today we are going to be talking a little bit about Venetia Elementary School, which has been turned into the Venetia Community Center. And I have two guests here, Veranese and Toni Sulkowski, and they're going to give you some information. First we'll be talking about the school and how we got started with it and all. And so, Toni, if you'll give us some of your experience in the history of the Venetia School.
Okay, Erma, it's a pleasure to be here and to share that information with everybody in Peters Township. And you may not know that the Venetia School was built in 1926.
26.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's more than 80 years old right now, this structure. And it was basically for most of the students on the eastern end of the township. And I believe it was originally a first through eighth grade school building.
First through 8th grade.
And over the years, it got transformed according to how the demographics changed in Peters Township. Mm-hmm. And eventually, in more modern times, 70s, 80s, and 90s, it became primarily an elementary school. And it housed anywhere from kindergarten to 5th grade, maybe one of each grade level, until eventually in the 90s, we ended up with a K-3 building of about 183 students. And that school closed in 1993, and that's when we opened up the new McMurray Elementary School, the structure that's on McMurray Road across from the middle school.
Uh-huh. And then in 1997, 15 of us got together and we purchased the school, and with a lot of help from grants and everything like that, and we've been working with it ever since. So I'd like to know why you became interested in the Venetia Heritage Society.
Well, as you know, and that's this group that you were just talking about to help preserve this historical structure in Peters Township. Having been a daughter of Peters Township myself, and I went to Venetia School when I was a youngster in the 1960s in an elementary school prior to them building Pleasant Valley. And then having been a teacher there in 3rd grade and then being the last principal for the building, I had quite an interest in making sure that we preserve this structure and helping it to stay within the community and a structure that would be available to everybody so that we could preserve history in Peters Township. We haven't had a whole lot of occasion to do that, so I thought it was great that this group formed, wanted to preserve the structure, and so one day at Community Day, I was at your booth and said, how come you weren't doing this and this? And I don't know how you signed me up, Erma, but you did.
Well, we're glad to have you. And that, but it has been a struggle, and we are still working to meet our goal. And let me see. We are going to be having an open house, finally. And so I guess maybe Laura has something to tell us about that then.
I'd be glad to, Erma, and I too thank you for hosting us today and making this a very memorable event to reopen Venetia School. That's the way I look at it. And I, as Toni, have many memories from Venetia School. When we first came to the community of Peters Township, my children attended that school as their very first school. And all of our children went through that school. Was it 1 through 3? Was it K through 3? Was it 1 through 5? Whatever it happened to be, when the youngsters were there, they went through it. I too was employed in that building for a period of time in the dining room and in the playground area. So it has many lovely memories. I too was very, very pleased to have the group take over the building and try to keep the memorabilia down in that area, have a place for the people of that area, not just the seniors and not just the children, but everyone in the area, have a place to go, gather, enjoy, and many learning experiences can come out of this building. After all, that is our learning building down there. What are we going to have? The board of directors for the Venetia Heritage Society determined that it was high time to share the building inside not just outside, with their membership and the community. That is what we're going to do on June the 2nd, Saturday. And the hours are going to be from 11 till 3. There have been some flyers being prepared to get out to all of the areas of Peters Township, Finleyville, Mon Valley, Upper St. Clair, the entire area. We want everyone to come. We have one activity going on down there, which, Erma, I hope you'll help me with. The Model Railroad has a room down there that they have put together a lot of information and railroad business. They had an open house, I understand, in March. I was not able to attend, but Dave Stanton, our DARE policeman from the community, is kind of heading this up, and there was quite a group attended, and they had so much fun, I understand. Hopefully, this particular area will be open the day of our open house. Is there more we want to say about that particular room and facility before we move on?
Well, I think it should be open to the public for them to see what all, and it's done by children. That I don't know what age group that is, but it's mostly done by them with supervision of adults. And they say, I haven't seen it myself, but they say it is very nice, and they've done a lot of work.
Dave's in charge of a local group here that is also collecting artifacts from the Montour Railroad that had run through Peters Township. And as we know, there's a railroad, I don't know if people even know that ran behind Venetia School.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
I think a train still goes on there.
Right, and so they're picking up artifacts and cleaning them up. And so it's a little archaeological in its own context and gives you an idea and a glimpse into prior history here in Peters Township. That we had that a lot of people are not familiar with, and they're not familiar with the roots of our community. There's a great book in the public library, of which I'm sure you're both aware of, that has the history of Peters Township. It's a little red book, and it was done for the bicentennial in 1976, and it still remains a good resource and a way that we can get in touch with our roots here in Peters Township. So if anybody would like to know a little bit more, that would be a good resource for them.
Absolutely, and I do believe that book, Toni, is also in all of our schools' libraries as well. So there would be plenty of access to that bit of information. It might be wise to look through it before the open house and catch up on what you might be looking for down here at the school. That particular day is going to be, we're hoping, in those few hours, chock full of lots of fun. Erma has, over the years, put together some videos on this channel, and we are going to show them that day there. They will be information and history on the Hackett and Peters Township area. So that will be available for folks. We're going to have a 50-50 raffle, of course, and the Chinese auction. And that's going to be up to some individuals of the board to put some things together, so I have no idea what might be packaged there that day. And of course, what would be an event without music? Are we going to have that? Most certainly. Peters Township is well noted for our arts, and Mrs. Donna Fox is going to see that at least one of her groups gets down to the event that day. There may be more than one. We're having Dawn Roach, who is a vocalist, share some music with us, and we are working on 2 or 3 others. I would offer an invitation that if there are those out there that would like to share things with us that day through music, please be in touch with Erma and let her know, because I'm sure that she will schedule you in for that day. There will not be a problem.
No problem.
No problem. One last thing that we will be hopefully kicking off that day, and I say hopefully because there's a lot of work entailed. We're going to do a Buy a Brick campaign through the society, and hopefully that will be ready to go. And how do you relate to this? Cast your minds to our public library in the township. It will be that sort of a brick program that we will be doing. Hopefully you will be receiving information by way of the various media prior to our event, so that that would be an activity that you might want to take part in that day. Do come and join us, and of course you know how it is. If you serve food, they'll come. Well, we're going to serve food, so we know that you'll come.
Well, you know,
can you share something else with us,
yeah,
Toni?
I think the other great part of this is, since we closed this building in 1993, it has been available in a sense to the community, especially to the senior part of our community.
Right.
And so some people are getting to utilize the building, and we'd like to get additional utilization of it and also kind of focus on some of the historical aspects. So this will be the first time that the general public will be able to come in and walk through the building. And we're hoping that those who visit the building will be able to get a chance to see the kind of work that needs to be done. And perhaps we'll be able to generate some ideas and some new interest in the Venetia Heritage Society. Maybe people who would like to join in, they may have resources, they may have talents and ideas that they can generate and provide to us to say, hey, have you tried this with the building? Are you going to go in this direction with that? You know, I have dreams too, because I certainly, from an educator standpoint, would like to see that building be a source of field trips for kids in the future so that they can see an historic site here in Peters Township. It's located near the Wright House. I mean, you could package that all together and let our kids experience history as it once was here in Peters. So we have all kinds of little projects that we can accomplish, and we certainly need our community's help and interest in that. So I'm hoping that when they walk through the building, they'll get some additional ideas, because the blackboards are still there, the original windows are there, there's been enhancements, some desks that we've managed to get there. So they'll see what we have to offer so far and how we can build upon this foundation that you've all started through your initial interest. Maybe you could share with us, Erma, since you're a little more involved than I am in the senior aspect of what we actually do provide at the Venetia Community Center right now.
Well, right now we're having the senior lunches. We have them twice a month, the second and fourth Thursday of every month. And everybody says, twice a month? And I said, yeah, twice a month. And we have like blood pressure screening first, and then we have lunch, then we have entertainment, and you have to have bingo. I mean, seniors aren't happy unless they have some bingo. And that's but we have anywhere, well, I think for this Thursday we have like 55 people coming for lunch. And it's always about that up to, and we can have up to 75 people to come for lunch.
How do people get involved in coming to lunch and going to the Venetia Center? How do they? Where do they sign up for that?
Guess who?
Irma, should we put your telephone number out there for everybody to see?
Anyway, yeah, they call me for and you have to make reservations because it is a catered meal, and it comes from the Cannonsburg Senior Center. Excuse me, the Senior Center. And it's a really very good meal, and everybody seems to be pleased with it. And our entertainment, we usually get entertainment from the schools and speakers coming from different organizations. And it's just something that we all work together and try to make a nice program for everybody.
Also, I think we need to mention some of the things that has already been completed at the building. We put in that chairlift, for those folks who are not capable of getting up to the second and third floor, because this is an old building, remember, we're not all on one floor. So we did manage to get the chairlift in, which is a great help so that all persons might be able to get in there. We took care of redoing the kitchen, isn't that right, Erma?
Oh, yes, we got a grant from a bank, and they gave us so much money, and it was to be slated for the kitchen, and we spent every penny on it for the kitchen. We have a very modern kitchen up to date.
Right, and the new roof was put on the building?
A new roof was put on, and the whole place was repainted, and we've done a lot down there. But
there's a lot to be done. What are we going to be receiving yet this week, Erma?
Well, yes, I don't know. Well, the Rotary is going to be giving us we're going to be presented with a check for $1,000 to be used.
That's great.
Every year. We'll get $1,000 from the Rotary, and it's being presented to us on May 3rd. And that's so we're very happy about that.
Good.
That's very
Yay.
nice. Yes, it is. And we do need to share this building and the goals that we all have in mind, because without doing that, folks do not know what we need, how much we need, and why do we need it.
Right.
They always want to know, why do you need it? So we really need to share that.
And it's interesting to me, being a longtime resident, and of course, we all know where Venetia School is, but I'm not so sure that all the community members
Good
know
point,
where it
Toni.
is.
800 Venetia Road.
That's right. So how do we get there if we live on the western side of the township? If we take McMurray Road
McMurray Road.
and go towards the middle school, if we're coming from Donaldson's Crossroads area,
Crossroads, and get on to Valley Brook.
make a
Right.
right to Valley Brook.
And then right onto Be About Road, and just follow Be About Road clear to the end
Till it tees out.
till it tees out, and then you make a left turn, and it's maybe 2.5 blocks from
That's
there.
Venetia Road, Venetia
Venetia
Thomas Road.
Yeah.
And you will pass the country store,
Yes,
and you will pass the post
post
office,
office.
Right.
and it's right next to the Methodist Church.
right next to the Wrights Methodist
Methodist Church.
Church. There, in fact, many of the folks from up in this end of town, I'll bet you, are aware of where it is because of the fields there that the youngsters play ball on. But they don't know about that red brick building that
What it
is
represents.
standing there.
That's true.
And that is what it is. So maybe the young people who play ball there and so forth would be able to share that day too by coming in and seeing an old schoolhouse and seeing the trains and all of the railroad information, and know what that building stands for that they are playing around every week.
Well, in my eyes, that was a big school, because I went to a one-room school, and you know, whenever you go into a 3-story building, I mean, hey, that
was a big
that's
school.
a big school. It was I was very fortunate to be asked to join in on this, because I did not go to Venetia School at all, but you know, my interests are still there.
Well, I think you have the
it's,
interest of the community at heart.
And heart.
And you're a longtime resident, as is Laura, and so you understand the need for historic preservation. And this is a great opportunity for the community to see a building that is very special in the hearts and minds of many people. There are a lot of people who went to Venetia School
And
that
if
would probably like to
anybody-
come back and look at it.
That's right.
And if anybody that went to Venetia School wants to give us their names and all that, I mean, we will probably put a bulletin board up or something or some sort. We haven't decided what we're going to do yet.
Well, it's going to
for
be a
that.
fun day, and I certainly hope that those in the community will share it with their families and come. If it's a half an hour, if it's the whole time, whatever it takes. We will be very glad to see you there that day, and if you have any information to share with us, please be in touch with Erma to give her the information.
We will take historic photos,
Absolutely.
any kind of memorabilia that people may have, so that we can, maybe one day we'll have a little room that will have all these
Oh, that's in the
special
plans.
artifacts in it. That's in the plans.
That's
There
in
you
the
go. There you
plans.
go.
That's in the plan. As a matter of fact, when they painted the whole building over again, we left that room in the original colors that they were whenever there was a school there, so that would be,
Great.
Good.
that's going to be our historical room.
Well, thank you very much, Erma.
No, thank you for being my
all
guest.
that
and
you've done to help us out here. It's going to be good.
So we hope that everybody that can come will come, and we will be there to greet you. And that's so. Does anybody have anything else they would like to say? How about repeating the date again?
The date will be June the 2nd,
2nd.
Saturday, from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m.
So,
Pray for no rain.
Right.
and everybody will be welcome.
That's right.
So, if, anybody have anything else?
I think you've covered it all.
Okay.
Thank
so,
you.
Thank you both for coming. Laura, thank you, and Toni. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure. We appreciate the opportunity.
And we're going
to
to keep you both very busy.
I know. I've already found that out.
Okay, so watch for our posters and more announcements of June the 2nd, Saturday, from 11 to 3. So we'll see you all there, and this is Erma Grego from Senior Perspective. Thank you for coming.